Welcome back to Insights at DDLynn Designs, a unique twist in the ancient art of wire. So I was just doing some practicing this morning about teaching you, all you beginners, how to do these adorable little upside down heart earrings. And they're really easy peasy. I'm going to go step by step. This is number 8 in my 2-week beginner series. That one was on the wrong side. But anyways, I'm really excited to teach you this. I'd love your feedback and comments. A smiley face in the comment bar, a little thumbs up takes 1 second. Anyways, let's get started. So these are identical, so I'm only going to do one. I do recommend that when you're making earrings, you do a little bit of each side. That way you maintain symmetry, okay? So I've cut myself 5 inches of 20 gauge dead soft round copper wire. I'm going to mark the middle. So here's my 5 inches. These are 1-inch squares, and here's my 2.5 inch mark. So all I'm going to do is get my needle nose, and I'm going to bend at the mark. And what you want to do is use your thumb as pressure as you're holding your plier, and you just want to rotate your wrist away from you as you're pushing the other wire with your thumb so that you have this perfect little U shape. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to get my stub nose, and I'm going to squeeze the U shape on the bottom. So I'm going to squeeze it together, and I'm going to do it very slowly, holding very firmly my wires together, and I'm just going to give it a gentle squeeze. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my needle nose, and I'm just going to leave a little tiny tip sticking out. And all you need to do is just hold very firmly. You're going to take this wire over here, and you're going to swing it down. And then you're going to take the wire on top, and you're going to swing it up. Then all I'm going to do is put my plier at the widest part of the jaw, and I'm going to square up where we squeeze that together just so that it's flush. And you want a nice parallel line, and you should have these little adorable bird wings. Looks like little wings to me. You could do so much with this concept, everyone. You can literally, I mean, I see so many things that you can do, but you can mark out here about 1/2 inch, bend this in, and start to create a butterfly. Then come back and bend it out again. If you'd like to see how to make a butterfly, please give me your feedback and let me know. Now you would do the same thing to your other 5-inch wire, the exact same thing. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my 6-step bell making pliers. And if you're brand new to wire wrapping and you've never seen these, there are 6 barrels on them. Each one is a different size millimeter. And you can use round nose or anything. Now I'm going to make a bigger heart. When I was playing this morning, I made this one and I used a square wire, but when we're starting out, it's very hard to learn on square. And then I made a little tiny, tiny one. So here's my itty bitty one. So I'm going to make this size. I wanted a bigger heart. You can have them as big as small as you want. So I'm going to be using the number 4 on my 6-step, that was a tongue twister, bell making plier. I'm going to face the bend in the wire away from me. I'm going to grab my plier with the number 4 barrel facing away from me, and I'm going to put that barrel against the arc. So this is what it should look like in your plier. And you want to keep your wires on an even plane. So all I'm going to do right here is I'm just going to push this wire around the barrel. So I've made the first half of our heart. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm always going to turn my work over in my best working position. So it's resting up against the barrel. And I'm just going to push this wire over. until I line up my little heart. So we should have something like this. So you want to do the same thing now on your other piece of wire because they're going to mirror each other. Now I'm just going to come in and squeeze that. Just want it lined up dead center. And if you need to adjust it, you can open it up. You can squeeze it in. Whatever, you need to do just to make your little adjustments. You could have a really big heart. There's so many different ways that you can go with this as far as what you can do with this particular design concept. And everything I do is freestyle. So it's just playing with your wire, really. Now, you can hammer. You don't have to, but I want to flare out that heart a little bit. So I'm going to get my hammering block, and I'm going to get my chasing hammer. And if you've never seen a chasing hammer, it's a little domed on top, and then it's got a ball peen on the bottom. You can use this side for texturing your wire, for creating a hammered look in your wire as well, which would be very pretty. Now I'm just gonna open this heart up just a little bit so I have some working room to hold on to the wire. And I'm just gonna very gently start to flare out only the arc where it's actually turning in. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And come down the leg a little bit. Then I'm just going to take a look. So we have just this very subtle but gentle flare. Then I'm just going to get my 180 grit buffing block. These are construction grade. And I repeat myself in every video because I really want to help beginners. And I remember how frustrating it was starting out. I like construction grade sanding blocks. Again, it's 180 grit because they're much better made. They last a lot longer than a fingernail file. And I'm just going to come in and softly and gently buff out my wire so it's nice and clean. Now here's a good little tip. If you find there's a little high side, just come in on a 45-degree angle and it will just buff out any little mark or nick, or just maybe a little part of the wire is bent a little weird way. And so you have this. So now what you want to do is you want to match up both your hearts. You can pull them in, you can spread them out. So I want this big, so I like it like that. And let's measure that. So if I put where the wires are crossing over on the top of my 1-inch line, they're just a little longer. The heart is it's a 1/2 inch in width, and in length from where the wires cross over, it's just a little over 3/4 of an inch. So if I turn it this way, you can see that the cross is just shy over 3/4 of an inch. I just let you guys know that for measurement. Now, here's a very important tip. When you're twisting wire, because we're going to twist, and then we're going to add a bead. So when you're twisting wire, you always want, if you're right dominant, to have the right wire going over the top of the left, and vice versa. If you're left-handed, you want your left wire going over the top of the right, because we're going to be twisting in this direction, going right-handed or going left-handed. So I think that's very, very helpful. So all I'm going to do, you can do it 2 ways. Let me get all this paraphernalia out of the way. You can hold your wire with your pliers right at the X. That way you have something to really stabilize your wire, because it's not easy learning how to twist. And then you want to put your index finger over the wire, the top wire, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, and your thumb underneath. And you want to stay very close, and you want to make 1 twist. And you always want to make sure that you maintain the same space between the wires. So we have this. Now we're going to get a bead. You can use a 2mm or a 3mm on these earrings. And it just depends on what you want. I'm going to grab a 3mm bead. Now, you don't have to use a gemstone, because this is all about beginner, and you may have not bought yourself strands of gemstone beads. So I'm using a little Swarovski 3mm, really pretty golden crystal. bead. That's all I'm using. And this is called a briolette because it's not perfectly round and you probably can't see it. I'll try to hold it with my plier. And it's not really an oval shape, but it's not perfectly round. It doesn't have to be that. I was just letting you know the bead that I'm using. So you should have 2 identical pieces now. And all I'm going to do is add this bead. You can use 28, 26, 30 gauge, whatever you want to use. I'm going to grab 5 inches of 26 gauge weaving wire. And I'll give you another tip. If you grab it off your spool, roll out 5 inches, then fold it in half so you don't waste wire. And then once you fold it in half, just cut it in the middle. So I'm just going to cut my wire here. I'm going to center up my bead on the wire. And you can do that either on your board. So here's my 5 inches. I'm going to slide that down to the 2.5. That way have equal amounts of wire on each side. Now you want to make sure that your gap space is open enough so that you can get your bead in there. So I'm going to do a series of wraps. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, come around one more time, 10. So now I'm going to turn my work around. You always want to get in your best working position. Now you have the option of having the bead sitting on top or in the back. So I like my bead to sit back down inside a little bit. So I'm going to bring this wire that I finished my quills on all the way around because I now know that this is going to be my front because I want my bead sitting back. Then I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to hold my bead and I'm going to do those 11 wraps. Now 26 gauge wire won't slide as smoothly as 28. So maybe every 4 or 5 wraps, you just stop and cinch it down. And let me make sure I'm going to squeeze them together. See how everything is. Looks like I need another wrap. Slide that down. So here is what you should have. So this is going to be my front, and this is how it looks with the bead sitting on top. Just squeeze those together. I want them nice and tight. So now that I know this is my back, I'm going to lift up on this wire and I'm going to cut it as if I'm looking on the inside of the wire. So I'm going to cut back in there and then I'm just going to cinch it. I'm rolling off the wire and cinching it down to where I can't even feel it. So I'm going to lift up on this wire and I'm going to come way back in on the inside. And then I'm going to roll off that wire. When we're working with weaving wire, it will stretch. So this is what we have. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these wires together. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to hold my bead firmly and just fold them together. So you have like this little U shape. And this is where you want to start lining up. Now we're going to twist this on top. So again, I'm right dominant, so I'm going to lift up on that so that I can swing it over because I want the right wire to go over the left. And I'm just going to start lining everything up. You want to always look at your work upside down, always turn it around so that you maintain symmetry. So that's my back, and this is my front. The reason why I like the wire sitting in the back a little bit is the bead is because it hides it a little bit. And I like that. It's just a personal preference. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our thumb here, or you're going to grab your tweezer nose and you're going to hold very firmly, I mean firm. And we're going to make on this one, because the heart is so big, it's bigger than the last one I made. I know I can't get 5 twists in this, so I'm going to do 3. If you have more wire length, because I made this heart so much bigger, then you can do 5 twists. On these, I did 5. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I think I can get 4 in there. I'm going to move my plier up so I have control over my wire. I'm pressing down very firmly. Don't worry if you ding it. It's not going to make a difference because it's twisted. I'm going to do, see how my piece wanted to move? So now I'm going to come in with my hand because I have more control, and I'm just going to twist it again. And I think I can get away with 5. So I'm really happy about that because that heart was so much bigger. If you find that your twists are off, so here's a really good tip. I'm going to straighten this out a little bit just by moving the heart itself. If you find that they're off or one is bubbled, all you do with your flat nose is simply press down, a good firm press up and down the wire, and then squeeze the sides together. And that will really help you with straightening up your little twist, which starts to look like a braid. So I'm going to try this with my short nose because I really want to get one more twist in there. And I'm going to hold very firmly, and I'm going to twist that around. And then the wire that's coming over the top, I'm going to bring it all the way around. I'm just using my finger. So you should have this. And then I'm just going to flatten that in a little bit more. I'm going to squeeze it around the back. Just straightening that out. And our earring is almost done. Isn't that cute? So easy. You guys, this could be a pendant. If you wanted, you could make smaller ones like the one I did this morning. And you could loop it around, just have one loop back here and make a bracelet. So anyways, I'm going to cut this off on the back, and I'm going to get my flush cutters, and I'm going to come way up underneath it. Then you really want a short jawed or flat nose plier, and you want to really cinch that in. So I'm going to come around this way, and I'm just going to cinch it in even more. Just squeezing that in. Now you want to make sure that your wire up here is on an even plane from top to bottom. So from here to here, you want that wire straight. Now we don't need this much length, and you could decorate more, but again, this is number 8, by the way, in my 2-week beginner series. So there's so many directions you can go with this. You can use doubled up wire. I'm going to straighten out the center there a little bit. I was just looking at that. That's why you always want to turn your work around. So in any event, I want to keep it as user-friendly as possible. So I'm going to put this down on my board right where the twists stop. I don't need a 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut right above the 1/4 inch mark. We just need a tiny little loop. So we have this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend this back. This is my front, and I'm just going to bend it back a little bit. Then I'm going to get my round nose. I'm not going to use my 6-step because I think this is, I don't want that big of a loop. I really want it just to all blend. So this is 2 millimeters, and I don't want it that big. So I'm going to use my round nose because I want a smaller loop. Now the bend is going down away from me. So where we have the bend in the wire, because this is my back, and that's where I want the loop to come, is towards the back. So I'm going to get my round nose, and I'm just going to roll this in. If it's too long, because you only need a little loop, we're going to put a jump ring in like that. Because we just want it all to blend. You know, we don't want to have, you can, I'm just telling you how I'm creating this. I don't want to have this big loop back there. So we have this beautiful earring. Both your earrings should match at this point. And all I'm going to do is get a jump ring and an ear hook. And I will show you how to make that ear hook. So to stay in the concept of a twisted design, I'm using a twisted jump ring. And I have myself just a little shy of 2 inches of wire. And this is how you make a ear hook, also known as fish hooks. I don't know why they call them that. Now I'm going to use, actually, I want to make a very small loop because I want to show you how to make a decorative ear hook. And you're just going to take your plier and you're going to make a very small, I mean, a very small loop. And you're just going to roll it in. Then you're going to get your 6-step bell making pliers, and you can use a round nose. It doesn't have to be 6-step. So you can either use the number 1 on your 6-step, and you want to put the loop. So if you're going to use the number 1, you want the loop facing to your right because you're going to swing this round. And then you're just going to hug it all the way up till it's flush with that loop. So we have this decorative ear hook. This is what's going to be holding our jump ring right there. Now you're going to put this back in your plier, and you need to determine how big you want the loop. I'm going to use the number 4. Again, the loop, it's like a shepherd's hook, is facing to my right, and the number 4 is facing to my left. And I'm just going to swing that wire all the way around. And now we have this very pretty decorative ear hook. Now what I like to do is I like to swing this out. So I'm going to get my plier, and I'm just going to grab right here where it's flush with the bottom of this loop. So just line it up and just kick it out a little bit. And then you can just open it up or not. Now you can leave the tail that long or not. I'm just going to cut mine back just a little bit. And so we have this beautiful ear hook. Now, you always want to hammer your ear hooks if you want them to maintain. You can either use a rubber mallet. I'm going to actually flare out the top of my hook at the arc. And then I'm going to gently tap. And the purpose of doing that is to harden the wire so that the ear hook doesn't bend. I'm going to tap down here and flare that out gently, and then I'm just going to flare out the bottom that goes through our ear. I do recommend that you buff this, but because I put all my jewelry in a tumbler, it automatically softens the tip on that. You can also file it to a point. Getting a lot of shadows in, so I'm really sorry about that, you guys. So now we're just going to set our earring. So you should have 2 beautiful earrings done. And I'm just going to open up my jump ring. I'm going to close off this little loop down here. I'm going to feed the jump ring through it. And I would have used a smaller jump ring, but this is just the one that I had available. I'm going to slide my earring through. I'm going to get 2 sets of pliers. Oh my gosh, you guys, I got stuff all over. And I'm just going to grab both ends, and I'm going to rock them back and forth until I feel them rub together and they line up flush. Now, I like to give a good squeeze. Just flatten that all in. And here is our adorable earring, which would be 2. And you've got this really pretty decorative little ear hook. Let's lay these all down. See how this heart's a little longer because I opened it up? And these are a little bit fatter. And then you got the tiny one and one done with square wire. Now, very quickly, I want to show you, if you're still watching, that this is the concept, the same concept that we would make a bracelet out of. So if you'd like to see how I did this, We'd be making the same heart, but instead of twisting it, we would wrap it and we'd have our excess wire out here. Then we would make another little tiny heart and we would bring the wires, we'd cross them over and then tuck them and wrap them through. And then we would connect each heart to each other with the little heart and then the big heart. Each side would be facing each other. And you would use double jump rings and it would make an adorable bracelet or necklace. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. I really do love to get your feedback. Let me know what you think. If you have any struggles, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer any questions. And as always, I wish for all of you all that you wish for yourselves. May each and every one of you have a magical wire wrapped day. Bye for now.